Hello, this is Ukraine on Air. My name is Kristina Strichar with the latest news. The Russian regime resorts to relentless aerial terror of peaceful Ukrainian cities. On the 26th of March, Russia fired a record single-stage number of missiles, an estimated 70 rockets.
On the 26th of March, Russian forces launched 2 missile strikes on Lviv, hitting an oil depot and a factory. The attacks did not affect residential buildings, but inflicted significant damage to the infrastructure. The shelling of the city took place at a time when the US President Joe Biden was in Warsaw, about 400 kilometers away from Lviv. An increased activity of Grad and Uragan multiple launch rocket systems was recorded in the Kharkiv region. The same kinds of weapons were used to strike Lysychansk and Severodonetsk at the Luhansk region. Also, Russian troops do not stop shelling along the entire line of contact in the region of Donetsk. This adversary activity coincides with statements from the Russian Ministry of Defense that the new key objective is to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk and Luhansk regions.
On the 26th of March, the head of the Sumy Regional Military Administration, Dmytro Zhivitsky, declared the liberation of the town of Trostianets from Russian troops. Several other populated areas have been also retaken as a result of a successful counter-offensive by the Ukrainian army.
The forces of the 93rd Brigade Holodny Yar expelled the elite of the Russian ground troops from Trostianets in the Sumy region. This town had been under enemy control for 3 weeks and became a place of humanitarian disaster, with Russian soldiers abusing the locals and using them as human shields. The armed forces also liberated a number of other population centers in the Sumy, Kyiv, Zaporizhia and Kharkiv regions. The counterattacks are now being held by the Ukrainian military in some other areas near Kharkiv. The abandoned Russian equipment has become trophies for Ukrainian soldiers, and successful local counterattacks may have important operational implications later on.
Russian forces have taken control of Ukraine's Slavutych, where workers at the defunct Chernobyl nuclear plant live. The seizure of Slavutych would entail the encirclement of Chernihiv.
On the 26th of March, Russian occupation troops invaded the city of Slavutych in the Kyiv region and seized the city hospital. Yuri Fomichev, the mayor of the town, said that the territorial defense forces had been resisting for 2 days, supported by artillery. The armed forces of Ukraine had no opportunity to join the fight. According to the mayor, it was decided to stop the defense in order to save people's lives. On the day of invasion, a peaceful rally in support of Ukraine was held in the city. The Russian troops tried to disperse the rally by shooting in the air and throwing stun grenades, which resulted in injuries. They also searched buildings for weapons. After making sure the national police left Slavutych, Russian troops withdrew from the town. This was confirmed by the city mayor at 3 p.m. on the 27th of March. Slavutych continues to live under the Ukrainian flag and constitution.
Some details revealed about the Russian-Ukrainian talks. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Ukraine could confirm the decision on the neutral status in a referendum.
A referendum on neutrality is a step faster than amending the constitution, the president declared in an interview with Russian media. The referendum will take place within a few months, while changes to the constitution will take at least a year, according to the current Ukrainian legislation. At the same time, the neutral status must be supplemented with security guarantees. According to the president, there must be a duly ratified international agreement with real legal effect. Nevertheless, Volodymyr Zelensky stressed that it is impossible to hold a referendum as long as Russian troops are present on the territory of Ukraine.
The Russian army, bogged down and unable to capture big cities, have resorted to shelling and bombardment of the civilian population.
From the 24th of February to midnight on the 27th of March 2022, the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights recorded 2,909 civilian casualties in the country, 1,119 killed and 1,790 injured. The statistics do not include casualties in Mariupol, Volnovakha, Izum, Popasna, Rubizhne and Trostianets, so their actual number is significantly higher. According to the Center for International Security, 391 people were killed between the 25th and 28th of March as a result of the Russian invasion. This number includes 300 fatalities in Mariupol. 189 people were injured, 36 civilians were captured, and a total of more than 60 civilians were abducted or taken prisoner, mostly local government officials occupied by Russian troops and Ukrainian activists.
Horrifying news from Mariupol. The city council informed about 300 deaths in the bombed drama theater.
Mariupol City Council reported that about 300 people died in the Mariupol drama theater after the bombing by a Russian aircraft. The building was a shelter for about 1,000 civilians who had lost their homes due to Russian shelling. According to officials and the military, many people with small children were situated in the theater. Due to constant fights in the city, it was impossible to reach the rubble. In the light of the current humanitarian situation in Mariupol, French President Emmanuel Macron announced that he intends to conduct an exceptional humanitarian operation in Mariupol in cooperation with Greece and Turkey.
Humanitarian situation in Chernihiv is deteriorating significantly. According to the mayor of the city, Chernihiv is completely destroyed. More than a half of the citizens have already left the city.
As of the 26th of March, less than half of Chernihiv's residents are still in the city, and the city is completely destroyed. It is easier to count houses that remained untouched than destroyed ones. The mayor added that Chernihiv was currently in an operational blockade, the Russian army having deliberately destroyed the bridge connecting the city with the Kyiv direction. The city is unable to arrange humanitarian corridors or evacuate people who have been injured. The pedestrian bridge is currently under constant crossfire, and it is dangerous to transport goods across it because it could collapse.
The war in Ukraine has once again confirmed the risks journalists face in a war zone. 12 members of the press were killed as a result of the actions of Russian troops.
Prosecutor General of Ukraine, Irina Venediktova, reports that 12 journalists have already been killed in the war with Russia. 10 more have been wounded in varying degrees of severity. As of the 26th of March, the Russian armed forces and other occupation troops have committed crimes against at least 56 media representatives. These include 15 journalists who are citizens of other countries, 4 from the UK, 2 from Czech Republic, 2 from Denmark, 2 from UAE, 1 from Switzerland, 2 from the United States, 1 of whom died, 1 deceased from Ireland, 1 deceased from the Russian Federation.
In the light of the war in Ukraine, global food security is of great concern.
On the 24th of March 2022, President Biden warned of food shortages due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's going to be real, he said, of food shortages. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia, it's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. Both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example, to give you one example. Experts from the Kyiv School of Economics emphasize that more than 400 million people worldwide depend on grain supplies from Ukraine. Accordingly, the war in Ukraine poses a challenge to global food security, which is particularly acute today for the Middle East and North Africa. Winter wheat in Ukraine is in good condition, but without timely spring fertilization, yields will fall significantly. Restrictions on the supply of fuel and mineral fertilizers complicate agriculture in relatively safe areas. Due to hostilities in most regions, the sowing of spring crops, corn, fodder, barley, sunflower, is physically impossible. According to the most optimistic forecasts, the area under these crops will not exceed 40% of the planned. According to the analysis of Kyiv School of Economics experts, Ukraine will not be able to carry out export operations in the next 2 or 3 years. Due to the projected significant reduction in yields, exports from Ukraine will be unlikely in the next marketing year. However, if the war ends in the next few weeks, some exports will still be possible.
Despite fierce military actions, Russia continues transit of natural gas through the territory of Ukraine.
Russia's Gazprom's loading of Ukraine's gas transmission system on the 27th of March remains at the maximum level of the long-term contract, 109 million cubic meters per day, according to the representatives of the gas transportation system of Ukraine. Recently, Vladimir Putin has announced that all payments for gas transportation to European countries will be made in Russian rubles. That move of the Russian president has already got a response from some of the Western countries. For instance, German Minister of Economy Robert Habeck noted that Russia's demand for countries declared unfriendly to pay for gas in rubles contradicts the contracts. At the same time, the EU prepares a kind of backup plan for its gas supplies. In response to the Russian invasion, the United States and the EU have announced a major deal on liquefied natural gas in an attempt to reduce Europe's reliance on Russian energy sources. The agreement will see the US provide the EU with extra gas, equivalent to around 10% of the gas it currently gets from Russia by the end of the year.
On the 26th of March, the Polish capital Warsaw became a venue for a number of events bearing international significance. These include the beginning of the new security dialogue between Kyiv and Washington and a speech by the US President Joseph Biden.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba and Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov held talks with their US counterparts Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin. Joe Biden also joined the negotiations, indicating his firm support for the people of Ukraine. Later, the American president took the floor in Warsaw. In a speech that some analysts dubbed the Second Fulton, Biden declared that the battle between democracy and authoritarianism did not end with the Cold War, and that the West should prepare for the long struggle to come between the two ideologies. In addition, he called on European allies to end their dependence on Russian fuel. Addressing the Russian people, Biden declared that Putin cannot be allowed to stay in power. Subsequently, however, the White House press service and even Emmanuel Macron were quick to soften the president's statement, assuring that Joe Biden was not calling to overthrow the Russian leader.
In his Warsaw speech, Joseph Biden noted that the Russian economy would be cut in half in the following years due to the sanctions imposed.
According to the President of the United States, Joseph Biden, Russian GDP will be cut in half in the following years due to the effect of sanctions that were imposed in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He remembered the measures taken by the United States and its allies after the beginning of the Russian invasions in Ukraine. In particular, the blocking of the Russian central bank from the world financial system. Biden also mentioned the oil and gas embargo and sanctions against 140 oligarchs and their families that froze assets such as yachts, luxury apartments and villas. He also added that more than 400 companies shut down their operations in Russia.
All secrets are made public. Zelensky named the supporters and opponents of Ukraine's accession to the EU among European countries.
Speaking at a meeting of the European Council, Zelensky named 10 states that do not hide their pro-Ukrainian position in the discussions on accession. These are Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Slovenia, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Croatia and Italy. The next group are countries that are not clear supporters of the accelerated procedure for Ukraine's accession to the EU, but will vote in favor when considering the Ukrainian proposals. This group includes France, Greece, Finland, Malta, Denmark, Cyprus, Luxembourg, Sweden and Romania. Another 6 states, according to Zelensky, are problematic. However, Zelensky expressed confidence that he would be able to convince them. These include Portugal, the Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Austria, Ireland. Separately, the Ukrainian president named Hungary. It is well known that a number of unacceptable anti-Ukrainian statements have been made from the Hungarian government in recent weeks. Zelensky finished his speech with a reference to the state which is the key opponent of the country's integration into the EU, Germany. Public opinion influences the minds of officials. All foreign citizens who value human life, freedom and democracy should act in support of Ukraine.
Ukraine and Russia agreed to halt 3-day talks in Turkey.
Chairman of the parliamentary pro-presidential faction Sluha Narodu, David Arachamia, said that Ukraine and Russia agreed to hold talks in Turkey. They will take place during the 28th-30th of March. We decided to hold the next live round with 2 delegations in Turkey on the 28th-30th of March, Arachamia wrote. Vladimir Medinsky, the head of the negotiating group from the Russian Federation, confirmed that the new round will take place on the 29th-30th of March. It was later clarified that the talks would be carried out in Istanbul on the 29th of March. The Ukrainian delegation will travel to Poland, from where it will fly to Turkey.
Provocations, fires and seizure of Ukrainian nuclear power plants have turned Russia into a global nuclear pariah.
The European Organization for Nuclear Research, consisting of 23 member states, announced the suspension of cooperation with Russia and Belarus in response to Russia's military invasion of Ukraine. But this action may not be the only negative consequence for Russia's nuclear power industry. Olena Zerkal, advisor to the Ukrainian energy minister, has announced that Ukraine is working to expel Russia from the International Atomic Energy Agency or to remove Russians from positions in the IAEA Secretariat. This is a reaction to the seizure of Ukrainian nuclear power plants. On the 24th of February, Russian troops took control of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and on the 4th of March they seized the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, the largest one in Ukraine. Rosatom later dispatched Russian specialists to Zaporizhia. The Ministry of Energy is convinced that such policy of nuclear terrorism is the main reason to terminate the Russian membership in the organization.
Stand with Free Ukraine and subscribe for our channel.